It's been a while since I've done, well, anything, really, that involved recording a thing. But I figured this would probably be something worth doing, even if the whole, current state of YouTube and everything's not working the way it should, or, whatever. This. I have no idea what's going on with YouTube. A lot of people's videos are getting demonetized. I took a brief look at some of the old stuff I've thrown up. Nothing's been touched there, but who knows? Could just be a matter of time. I'm not one of the more gruff and gritty types. I don't necessarily yell and scream obscenities at the camera. However, I've not also been one to really check my language, nor do I care to be. I'm honestly of the mind that as long as, people have seen an R-rated movie, if they're offended by an R-rated movie, don't watch things that could potentially offend you with swearing, cursing, whatever you want to call it. But that's not going to be the actual topic of this particular video. Wargaming. I love them. So I've been tooling around warships for quite a bit. Never really thought I was good enough to do anything worth making a video out of. But hey, here I am making a video out of something wargaming. And as you can see right here, I've got the infamous Graf Zeppelin. And this is a ship that was mired in controversy from the moment it launched on the store and was available for sale for like all of a day and a half, if not slightly less. Resulted in a lot of people getting upset. Some of the content creators that are a part of the Warships Gaming content creating community spoke out about it. You can research that however you want. This is not going to be talking about that either. Instead, I'm going to be talking about is doing to sort of address the issue. So, when the controversy first broke, and Wargaming finally admitted that yes, the launch of the Zeppelin may have been a bit overzealous, they offered refunds, but also hinted that those who kept the ship would be able to assist them at their leisure in the rebalancing and the fixing, if you will, of the Graf Zeppelin. I can say that yes, even as someone who really is not the best of carrier captains, the Graf Zeppelin does underperform when compared to the likes of, my Saipan or any of the others that I've got floating around in here. If I can find them. Hold on. There's an easy way to fix this. Carrier. Ha ha ha! So I haven't really compared it next to the Enterprise, which is a very sound ship in and of itself, but I have played games with my Saipan, and I will say that yes, compared to the Saipan, even the Zeppelin underperforms, and primarily due to this little thing called the torpedo. Now, if I can click the right things, the torpedoes have really been on carriers proven very effective because you can either bomb a ship and start fires, they'll maybe hold off, maybe put it out, whatever. But the more reliable way is you torpedo them, you get the flood damage, they DC the flood damage, you send your bombers in, set them on fire, cause them a lot of hate, misery, and discontent. The Zeppelin does not necessarily allow for that because it is strictly comprised of either your HEs or your APs. There is absolutely zero torpedo ability in this at all. Not like there was when it was first being developed and first launched for testing and all that sort of stuff. And that has set it back. It really has. And I will say, I adore playing this one. I have found it to be one of the more fun carriers to play, but it's on the frustrating side because you can't necessarily win a lot of dogfights. You can't necessarily output the damage over time that you'd like to put out, and it's just a bit of an underwhelming experience in spite of how fun it can actually be throwing a bunch of dive bombers at things, because let's be honest, with the HE, the dive bombers are spectacularly accurate, and so concentrated that you can really get a lot of bombs on target. And in fact, I've probably found the HE to be a little bit more rewarding and enjoyable than the AP for that reason, especially if you kind of work with some of the other ships to get them to break their their damage over time with damage controls, and then drop your bombs on them. She's also a very good scout ship. I've had a lot of good success dropping bombs just to get some fast scouts out there. And with the 3 flights of bombers plus the 2 fighters, you can scout out the map ridiculously quick. So kudos to that. It performs great as a scout carrier, and really with the guns and armaments that it has, even though the range on them is a little bit underwhelming, you can still chase away a lot of things that get too close to you. So there is that. But back on what they're doing to fix it. So for all of the Zeppelin owners, upon logging in over the last week, there was a little message, an invite waiting that said, hey, you're an owner of the Graf Zeppelin. You're invited to, if you so wish, participate in assisting us in rebalancing the ship. I accepted, because why not? Even though I'm not the best of the carrier players out there, at least feedback is feedback. And, you know, sometimes the perspective of someone who kind of sucks at something is still valuable. Especially if you start talking about barrier of entry, barrier to play, things of that nature. Scaling with difficulty curves, a lot of stuff like that. So upon accepting it, you were invited to, and even if you declined, you were invited to a Facebook group that was put together for owners of and testers of the Graf Zeppelin. And there was a lovely little message waiting that basically outlined what the process would be. So the critical points were that all of the Graf Zeppelin owners were going to be credited with, or will be credited with, a copy of the Graf Zeppelin. One will remain static as is in the current state that you see it right here, and the other will be the one that's getting tested and modified and changed so that really you can compare the current state to the new state to see what works good, what doesn't work. And that's an awesome approach to things. It lets you compare things to the status quo so that you're not just experiencing changes and saying, well, what happened with the earlier one when I did this? You can go back, double check things, validate things, or confirm that things are working as intended or need to be improved. So kudos to Wargaming on that. Likewise, they're going to encourage people to really test it out. There are going to be missions for the Graf Zeppelin included. And that's going to be, you know, it's a nice little incentive. It rewards the testers a little bit, people who are willing to play through the Graf Zeppelin changes and modifications and alterations by, you know, little rewards, little tidbits here and there. Pay them for their time if you want to break it down into a more simple statement. So again, kudos to Wargaming on that. All of the other Graf Zeppelin owners will receive an invitation to the test. I just went over that. They can accept it or decline it. You're not forced to do the test. If you don't want to, you don't have to. They did say that if you accidentally hit no, like I guess some people did, or didn't get the automated test, they'll be sending out another one, I believe through email, so that they can just come back on that if they want to. And they're utilizing the Facebook group as a forum that will not only discuss all of the news that's related to the Graf Zeppelin, but also to be an open forum of discussion for the testers so that they can congregate, and it really, by localizing it on a Facebook group, allows the Wargaming development team to respond and see that input and information faster. So that's how they're approaching this. Streamlining communication between the testers and the development team. They are actually offering incentive for those who want to test, whether it is as a part of the testing community or not. They are going to be offering a static alongside a modified Zeppelin so that you can compare the two, how they work, how they function. You could even probably throw them into a testing room and pit them against each other to see how they compare. That's actually a really fun thing to even think of. And then what they're going to do is they're going to keep the refundability of it open. Now, for people who still own the Zeppelin, that is kind of a get out of jail free card. And I don't think it's necessary. I do believe that Wargaming will work diligently to build a vessel that is really available to compete against the other carriers at the level it needs to compete at. But it does provide a bit of a safety blanket or a security blanket for those who maybe will look at how the testing is going and look at how the changes are coming and say, you know what, this just still isn't for me. And then they're going to, once they wrap up all the development and all the testing, they're going to throw out a notification of deadlines for the refund options so that people can back out last minute if they want to. And then they're going to take a 3-month grace period to allow those who participated in the Zeppelin testing to be basically exclusive captains of the ship as a final little reward before it goes on sale for the market to pick up publicly and openly at will. So really, it's actually a solid way of handling what was a rather significant crisis in the whole Graf Zeppelin story. And, I've got to say that I do appreciate what they're doing to try and fix this and make it right. Now, when I bought the Zeppelin, I actually bought it in the midst of the firestorm, knowing full well that what I was buying was not going to be what had been initially showcased in the videos from, such notables as iChase and the rest of them. And that's fine. I am perfectly okay with that. I basically bought a ship knowing it was a little on the broken side because, hey, in all fairness, I like this ship. It is a remarkable ship, most historically speaking, and visually, aesthetically, it's just an appealing ship. And really, I saw the potential to just have fun with something that wasn't necessarily a powerhouse. Something that, in all fairness, I could take into a co-op battle, which I have been with this one for a little bit at least, just to help build my proficiency with. And competing against itself, it's a very solid carrier. You can perform very well. And granted, it's co-op. You're up against bots. You're up against an AI that doesn't necessarily think very in very complex terms or in very strategic terms, but you're still also competing for that top score with other players. And in the co-op, the Graf Zeppelin's perfectly capable of attaining that and doing very, very well. Which gives me hope that once the balancing changes come in, she should be able to compete at a very solid level with the rest of the carriers that are out there, like the Shikaku, like the... I don't know. What else are people throwing around these days? The Enterprise, probably not up to the level of Midways and all that stuff, but still. We just want competitive. We don't want top tier, right? But anyway, I am going to be, I opted in, so I'm going to probably be testing this around and throwing this about, seeing what I can do with it, and kind of just having what fun I can with it and testing all the different changes. And even though, like I said, I'm not the most experienced of captains when it comes to carriers, God knows I miss my share of drops. I will still be trying to look at this from a design and balance perspective, working on comparing it with some of the other carriers that I have piloted around that are within the same tier, such as, Kaga's one lower, my Saipan, my Enterprise, and my Zeppelin. Why do I not have any other carriers? Because I've been working on my battleships, guys. I've got my Friedrich der Groß and... or however you pronounce that. I do apologize. I butcher names. Sorry, not sorry. And my Yamato. I'm very proud of having gotten my Yamato. And I'm working through the Brit line, and I'll probably finish out the German line shortly after getting through the British line. Anyway, so that's why I don't have any of the other carriers, really. So my test pool's a little small, but hey, at least I can compare it to other premiums. And that's fine. That's the tier that this is expected to match with. So that works. And I will be trying to offer what perspectives I can as someone who understands the design and development process. I, I do have my degree in game design, and I've worked on a few myself on the indie side of the house, and I understand the whole cycle, the whole process, and I can probably speak to things from a mechanics perspective, from a balancing perspective, from a strictly mathematical-esque perspective, comparing it to some of these others. And whereas some of the other more experienced captains will be able to speak to it from a gameplay perspective at that particular competitive level. Good on them. I'm not here to compete with them. So that's really it. I'm gonna work on getting this uploaded. My upload speeds have been pretty dismal of late, and this is probably at 15 minutes going to take close to 10 to 15 hours just to get up there. But whatever. It is what it is. I kind of want to put this up there because I also kind of want to use the channel to offer what insight, feedback, or whatever it is I have on this. That's all I've got. So thank you very much if you're tuning in to see this. I look forward to testing through the different incarnations of the Zeppelin. It will probably be a weekend warrior project for me due to travel and other things that I've got going on. But as frequently as I can, I will be looking at this, seeing what's coming, seeing what's changed, seeing what's been improved, and speaking on it a bit. So that's all I've got. Nothing other interesting otherwise to see here. No gameplay, no fantastic damage output and remarkable games. Just a spinning ship and me talking about what Wargaming is doing to move this forward. All right. Have a nice day. Goodbye.